Welcome back. Hopefully you have practiced that worksheet and you're really good at graphing y equals mx plus b. So this next step is to graph lines in standard form. So they're not giving it to you in y equals mx plus b, and you have three options. You can graph these using the table method, so you can pick random values for x or y and solve. You could do it using the intercept, so those are specific table method ones where you find the x-intercept and the y-intercept and you graph. Or now we know that we could put our graph into slope-intercept form. So if I was to graph this line, okay, I could graph it using the intercept method, which is kind of like doing the table of values. So the first thing we're going to do is find the x-intercept. To find an x-intercept, you let y equal 0. So you'd end up with 2x equals 12. Because when you let y equal 0, this whole term goes away. So then we would divide by 2, x equals 6. So that's one of your points, 6, 0, and you'd plot it here. The next one would be your y-intercept. Your y-intercept, we're going to let x equal to 0. So again, you'd cross out this term. We're not going to do that. We're just going to go 3y equals 12, divide by 3, and you get y equals 4. So can I graph using the intercept method? Sure, I've got 2 points. 2 points is technically enough. But if you want even more, you could take your equation, 2x plus 3y equals 12, and you could solve for y. So I'm going to subtract 2x from each side. I get 3y equals negative 2x plus 12, and then I'm going to divide every term by 3, and I get y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4. I get that same y-intercept at 0, 4. But now I also know that the slope is negative 2/3. So doing all of this, like, it's never a bad idea to do the intercept method and y equals mx plus b, because then you're making sure that everything you solved is right. Because if I use the slope, I should end up at that x-intercept. So the way that this is written, I could go down as my rise and right as my run, because I could go negative in the top and positive in the bottom. Or I could go 2 over negative 3, which would be up for my rise and left for my run. So from that point 0, 4, I'm going to go down 2, right 3, down 2, right 3. And look, I hit that x-intercept. Or I could have gone up 2, left 3, and get an even better one more point. So I graphed that line using the table method, specifically finding my intercepts. I could find another point if I wanted to, and I also put it into slope-intercept form, and it really doesn't matter what method you use because they're all doing the same thing. So let's try this next line. This one, let's do your x-intercept first. X-intercepts are easy if you just cross out the y value. You get 4x equals negative 15, divide by 4, I get x equals negative 15 over 4. I'm not going to graph that. Even putting that as a decimal, I believe you get, what, 3.75, negative 3.75? I'm not going to try to put that on the grid. So the x-intercept isn't a nice point. So here's one where I don't like the intercept method because I didn't get a good x-intercept. Maybe I want to find the y-intercept still. I can find the y-intercept by letting x equal to 0. So negative 3y equals negative 15. Divide by negative 3. I get y equals 5. That's a great point. 0, 5 is a point that I would plot. But it's not enough to graph. So I have another option. I could find another point by using the table method, or I could put it into y equals mx plus b. And some of you are saying, like, why would you even try to do the intercepts? It's just nice to have multiple ways. It's a way of checking to make sure you're doing this right. Some people mess up solving for y, but they don't mess up solving for the y-intercept this way. So it's a way of checking that you did it right. Yeah, but up to you. You can totally just do y equals mx plus b if it works for you. So I'm going to subtract 4x from each side. I get negative 3y equals negative 4x minus 15. Remember, always write your x term first. And now you can see why, because we want it in y equals mx plus b. Now I'm going to divide by negative 3. And I get y equals positive 4/3 x plus 5. I can double check my y-intercept is the same. So my y-intercept is still 0, 5. I didn't mess anything up. And my slope is positive 4/3. So from this point 0, 5, I'm going to go up 4. I can't fit on my grid. So instead, I'm going to go negative 4 for negative 3. So I'm going to go down, and I'm going to go left. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, left 1, 2, 3. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, left 1, 2, 3. And if I connect these dots, they should all connect up in a nice line with a ruler. I can go through. You could even be really picky and check, plug in the point -3. Make sure when you plug that into here, you get a y value of 1. There's so many ways of making sure you did this right. Or take a point, -3, 1. Check to make sure it satisfies the equation. Is 4 times -3 minus 3 times 1, does that equal -15? Well, let's check. -12 minus 3 is -15. Okay, I'm good. I graphed it right. So if you're struggling with graphing lines, try to make sure that you're doing it right. Maybe do the X-Intercept, Y-Intercept method and y equals mx plus b. Maybe do y equals mx plus b and then check a point. Make sure if you're struggling with these, there's no reason to get these wrong because there's so many ways to check to make sure you're doing it right. Last one here. Again, I'm going to find the X-Intercept and the Y-Intercept just because I've been doing it. So the X-Intercept, 3x equals 9. I'm going to divide by 3. I get x equals 3. So there's a nice point, 3, 0. I could put it on my grid. The next thing I would maybe find is my y-intercept. So let x be 0, so -4y equals 9. Divide by -4. I get y equals -9/4. And again, even as -0.2.25, I'm not going to put this on my grid. But I need another point. So I could plug in a value of x, solve for y, or take your equation and solve for y. I'm going to subtract 3x, subtract 3x. I get -4y equals -3x plus 9. Divide by -4. And I get y equals +3/4 x minus 9/4. I get the same y-intercept. The y-intercept is 0, -9/4. But I don't want to graph using that. But I also have a slope of 3/4. So I already had a point at 3, 0. Now I have a slope of 3/4. So instead of starting at this y-intercept, I'm going to start at the x-intercept. And I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, right 4, can't fit it. So I'm going to try the other way. I'm going to go down and left. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, left 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then these should be my points on my line. So again, to recap, to graph a line, some of you are purely going to do this. You're going to say, okay, y equals mx plus b. But just be aware that if the slope or the y-intercept, sorry, slope's never going to be that nice, but if your y-intercept ever turns out to be not nice, don't forget you can find your x-intercept. So maybe a good thing to start with is finding x-intercepts and y-intercepts. Then find your slope if you want to. Or, you can just always do y equals mx plus b and find your x-intercept when you need to. So now there's another practice sheet. So again, these are in your course handbook that you picked up with your textbook. It's called Why Does a Poor Man Drink Coffee? It's my way of getting you to do graphing with given grids and making you fit the graph into a grid. Other than that, when you're doing your homework, please feel free to use graph paper, either your own or there's some as a PDF on here, and I also put some at the back of your course package. Good luck with graphing.